I'd like to introduce the next finalist, Martin Gross, co-founder and CEO of Skylit Medical.
Hi, I'm Martin. I'm the CEO and founder of Skylit Medical, and we provide access to clear skin for millions of patients with skin conditions caused by the immune system. And we do that through cutting-edge lighting technology through a connected device. Probably should get the clicker here, thanks. I'm leading a great team. The development team itself is led by the kind of engineer I want to start a startup with, and that's Andy Gamlin from CareFusion in Massimo. We actually have expert guidance from David Hale, who's a premier biotech investor here in San Diego, as well as guidance from Dr. Gallo, who heads the Department of Dermatology at UCSD, and he's very well loved and respected in the field in which we are. I myself am a patient with one of these skin conditions caused by the immune system. Now, these conditions are chronic, there's no cure, they're inflammatory, they're itchy, they're unsightly, and they actually can start to affect our quality of life quite a bit. And there's a lot of us. In fact, in this room, there's probably quite a few of us who have one of these skin conditions. Psoriasis is what I have. There's about 9 million of us who are diagnosed and undiagnosed with this. The most common problem that you see up here is eczema. We know a lot of people with eczema. Maybe a slightly less well-known one is vitiligo, and that's the changing of the pigment of the skin, which is a little less than 1% of the population in the United States. There's a significant market spend here because these problems are chronic, there's no cure, and they do really affect our quality of life so much. There's about $7 billion spent in biologics, which tend to have about the same or a little bit better efficacy as the field that we're in, which is photomedicine, using light, that I'll talk about in a second. About a little over $500 million spent there. And there's somewhere around $3 billion spent on topical steroids. So for a second, let me take you through this. Some of you are not in the medical field whatsoever. Just feel the pain with me as a patient, because this is the option list I have. According to the American Academy of Dermatology, there's really 3 steps that I've got. The first is topical steroids. So those are going to be corticosteroids you're going to put on your hands, and they're going to work until they don't. Your body's going to develop tolerance to them. So if you have one of these chronic problems, they just stop working. And if you've got it on your hands, they're going to wash off anyways. It's not going to work for a lot of us. So the second out of 3 steps is going to be something called phototherapy, UVB therapy. I remember going to get this in a clinic, and I would have to drive and spend about 2 to 3 hours of my day getting about 1 minute to 2 minutes of UV therapy. UV light on your skin that just gently downregulates the autoimmune system to say, hey, you don't need to produce these results anymore. It works really well, but it's so inconvenient. And it's so costly for patients like me. The dermatologists themselves don't even like building these booths because they don't really make that much money, and they don't serve people because it's so inconvenient. So they're referring their patients out to someone else. So the alternative there are UVB therapy units at home. I, as a patient, took a look at this. I know quite a few of you in here who have these problems and have taken a look at these products, and you don't like them. I don't like them. They're expensive and they're terrible products. You actually have to use a chart to figure out how long your dosage has to be. They're trying to make people like you and me look at watts and joules and output and time and stuff, and it's a terrible product. Dermatologists don't like giving this to anyone because you're giving the administration of UVB light over to a patient without any control. Okay, so that doesn't work. What's the next step? The next step are biologics, which are going to cost your out-of-pocket maximum, jab it in your leg a couple times a month, and it's going to lower your entire immune system. You're going to get chronic respiratory infections, and you're going to spend a whole lot of money and a whole lot of frustration. For 90 to 95% of people who are of mild to moderate symptoms, this is too much. That's it. Those are your options. So what do? This is why I came up with Skylit Medical. It's a miniaturization of the clinical experience. So instead of just putting light at home, we're actually changing the clinical experience from a setting that's in a physical setting to one that's remote. We're providing the power of clinical therapy into the hands of a patient for use at home with the direct oversight by a physician. So the patient would receive this device, they would use it for 1 minute to 2 minutes per hotspot, and they would go through their guided treatment that their physician prescribed and no more. So it's an incredible amount of convenience. And at less than $400, it's an incredible amount of cost savings. But it's a very high degree of flexible control by the dermatologists themselves. What really sets us apart, and what I believe really changes the way that medicine can be done in the future, is by saying, let's sell this directly to patients and think what actually affects them. Along with this is going to be data that's pulled from the device itself and pushed over through a HIPAA-compliant cloud over to the people who need it. So there's going to be people like the clinics themselves who just want to check up on their patients. But then there's also things like healthcare systems. In fact, I was just talking to one a couple days ago. They want to basically shut down their phototherapy booths, and they want to send home phototherapy units home with patients. But they're looking at the home phototherapy units going, what do we do? Well, those systems really want something like this. There's also online telehealth platforms. These are growing in number, and they want to actually produce some sort of relationship between a physician online and make sure you don't have to go into the office, but they need recurring revenue, so we can work really well for them as well. And we can pull this data through something like a mobile app that drives compliance. It can tell when you like to treat yourself at home, most likely watching TV. That's what all of our market research says. And it can actually send a text message to you or notification to you that's time for therapy, and it can drive compliance. Plus, there's some really innovative ways that we can automate this process through image analysis and algorithmic analysis. So compared with everyone else, we in the office, we say the traditional way is a phone booth. Our competitors are basically rotary phones, and we want to make an iPhone. We want to provide a great degree of flexible control along with convenience and cost benefits. This is going to be really popular with our early adopters. Our early adopters are people we're going to find on a site like Inspire.com, which has 40,000 frustrated psoriasis patients talking to each other, trying to find out, what do we do? And there's 1,000 more that come on every single month. And we found that these early adopters are these digital natives who are between 22 and 35 years old, and they're frustrated and freaked out about what this disease means for them. They're going to find us online. They're going to go to their dermatologist, someone who we've already given a lot of education about through organizations and conventions. And then the biggest bulk of our patients are going to be women between the ages of 35 and 65 who have tried everything. They've changed their lifestyle, they've changed their diet, they've changed their exercise, and nothing is working. They don't have time to go to the phototherapy clinic. So this is going to work out very well for them. We've already seen this in third-party market research. And then, of course, there's a large group of people like me who are just frustrated and want this to be done with. So we'll spend a lot of time advertising directly to consumers and patients, but the real evangelists of this product, we find out, are the dermatologists themselves. They see 5 to 7 phototherapy candidates every single month. And we found out that because this is a two-sided market, it's important to go to them and find out what they want to say and actually be part of the product development process. We found out that 95% of them would actually want to prescribe this to their patients. This is through third-party market research. Why? The question always in San Diego medical device community, why? They're not making any money. Well, they're actually not losing patients. That's what they said. We're not having to refer these patients out to anyone else. We can continue a relationship. And this becomes a really interesting play for them to actually have this in their office. Large healthcare systems can utilize this. We've already been told by one of them that this is something we can market because it's going to be so convenient for our patient. It's going to drive compliance. So for those of you outside of the med device space, that means they're going to use it. They're going to get better. So there's ways that then we could capture that value by going in and just charging right there, credit card right there in the office. This is a common practice already for those of you unfamiliar with this. And we can actually make it over 12 monthly payments, so it's really, truly affordable. And the idea is that we can get recurring revenue through both subscriptions, through telehealth platform partners, and specialty pharmacies. And we can also do recurring revenue through something like a peripheral lotion that you put on that actually increases the effectiveness of the phototherapy. So that's where we're at, and we believe that we can get to this place where, following a pretty traditional biopharma sales model, this is not pie-in-the-sky stuff. We're actually taking a look at maybe just getting 2 of those 5 to 7 phototherapy candidates every month, and that can lead to a pretty widespread adoption for a business, even though all of these units over 5 years, if you put them all together, is just less than 2% of the eczema population. So this isn't really far-reaching stuff. We believe that we really are going to be desired by just about everybody that's affected by these diseases, especially vitiligo patients. But because of that, we believe that we realistically can get to a place right under $90 million over that amount of time. So here's where we're at so far. We've raised about $500,000 in a seed fund led by Hale Biopharma Ventures, and we've actually created what you're seeing in this diagram. It's a scalable, amazing LED array that's driving a lot of UVB power out of this engine. And so we've got intellectual property built around that, and the system, and the feedback features, and the actual algorithmic analysis that's there. So things are going well in that front. In fact, Andy and I are pretty happy about the light that's coming out. That's part of the initial prototype development. So we want to spend the rest of this year, the short amount of this year, and all the way through 2015 in testing, designing, going out to consumers, going out to patients, and giving this to the FDA after a final design process. And we want to get this into as many homes as possible. And then we believe that we're going to get into the market at about Q2 2016. And then after that, we're going to start getting into what's called a mature market position, covering most of America. So we need $3 million to actually get through the FDA. That's going to get us into the hands and homes of as many patients as who want this, who we believe from our market research is just about all of them. And then it'll be about $8 million from there to actually get out to all the dermatologists that are going to be recommending this to their patients. So that's where we're at right now. We're at a place where we passionately believe that patients can have hope, that patients can find a convenient solution that they can afford, and that dermatologists can stop saying goodbye to their patients but can continue the relationship so that we're providing access to clear skin for millions of patients with these conditions caused by the immune system. Thanks very much.
All right, who's got a tough question? We got two good companies, need to pick between the two of them. We need a tough question. Anyone? Really? Yo, I got lights, I can't see. Ah, yes, Mr. Lynch.
So I was curious about the revenue model. It seems like this is a chronic condition. You just don't get rid of it. It's a lifetime management challenge. Can you talk more about the revenue model and how long a term you're expecting for recurring revenue?
Yeah, that's
the gross margin.
Yeah, that's a very good question. So we took a look at that. We took a look at what patients wanted. And we also took a look at various business models. And we saw that they wanted to have this. They wanted to have this in their home at all times. But they really wanted to pay over a course of time so that they owned it. They didn't want some sort of open subscription, which ended up kind of not having very good margins anyways once we started to take a look at those financial scenarios anyways. But an eczema patient wants this and they want to buy this because it's basically, we call it whack-a-mole. The eczema will show up at any point. And they want this device so that they can start treating themselves. Whereas psoriasis and vitiligo, it keeps showing up in the same spots over and over again. And so they want to own it because they want to just keep using it over and over again. So the revenue model that we took a look at was, let's do what the consumers want, what the dermatologists are asking for. They just want to buy this. And then let's put in recurring revenue scenarios elsewhere, and not necessarily that be the driver of everything that we're doing, but adding value to the patient so we can provide end-to-end care for both the patient and for the dermatologist.
Anyone else? Aha.
Real quick, the device is controlled by the doctor or the prescription so that patients can't accidentally overdose themselves with UBV?
That's correct.
Okay, they're not able to actually use the device whenever they feel like it and overdose. It's kind of like got a security feature in that sense?
Yeah, sorry, I didn't quite catch that. I'm sorry.
I'm asking, does the device have a security feature that doesn't allow a patient to overdose on accident?
That's right. So it actually takes a programmed prescription and a programmed protocol from a physician. And then the patient uses that, and then they're not allowed to use anything above that. So the patients are seeing this as a real convenience and cost play. The dermatologists that we've spoken to say, hey, this is actually safe. This gives us a lot more control. The head of the San Diego Dermatological Association said, I came up with this product, I just didn't pursue it. It's a lot more flexible control for the patients themselves, for the dermatologists themselves. All right, thanks so much.
All right, thank you.
I actually would like to introduce the next finalist, Nathan Ramasarma, with co-founder of Imminent.
Good evening, everybody. How is everybody doing? How's the food? That's more important tonight, right? Awesome. My name is Nathan Ramasharma, and I'm co-founder of Imminent. We are setting out to transform the action sports industry. Our product is the Imminent Puck. It's the world's smartest, most versatile, and accurate tracker for the action sports industry. Mount the puck on your skateboard, ski, snowboard, or your bike, and track, quantify, and share your action sports routines, tricks, and stunts across the smartphone application and get rated. Before the puck, most action sports enthusiasts would use images and videos as a sole medium to express themselves. And we all know self-expression is the biggest social currency there is today. However, there is a huge problem. And the problem is that images and videos go only so far. They don't tell you the complete story. Such is the story of Chris Clark. Chris is a professor here at the university, and more importantly, back in the 90s, he was a professional skateboarder. But thanks to him, he still keeps in touch with his skills as a skateboarder, and he shreds it, literally. If you're lucky, he's going to be here pretty soon. But anyway, because Chris is using his skills to improvise himself and to come up with tricks every single day, and there are thousands, if not millions, of such Chris's worldwide, videos and images don't really showcase their skills in the right light. So their story remains incomplete. And we want to do something about that incomplete story. For some people, it's about finding out what the trick was, or how to tell between two different tricks, either for yourself or between others, or to improve yourself. But unless you really know how good you are, or what wrong you did, or what right you did, how would you improve? Some people might say that the smartphone does a lot of tracking. It has a bunch of sensors in it. Yes, sure. But can you imagine how good a smartphone is if it's in your pocket and the trick is actually happening on your bike? Just does not work. In alpine sports, can you imagine taking out your smartphone application dedicated for alpine sports, trying to fiddle around the UI in bitter cold and with all your winter gear? It's not the right solution. The need of the hour is actually a dedicated smart sensor device and accompanying software that can accurately determine your motion, and more importantly, not just be a tracker. Solutions in the marketplace track everything because of GPS and so on, but what's more important is to understand what improvisation is. That's the cornerstone of the quantified self. And today, wearables do not offer you that ability to track and understand the level of improvisation. So fine, we found a problem, we thought it's pretty cool to solve, but is it worth solving? And the answer is absolutely yes. Why? Because just in the United States, there are over 30 million plus users that patronize snowboarding, skateboarding, skiing, and biking. And there are several other action sports that I've not even talked about. While that number is huge enough by itself, what's more useful to understand is the impact that these action sports heroes, if you will, are putting into the market. And to understand that, if you take a sliver of online videos out there, take the 5,000 YouTube channels that are out there, and if you look at them, over 61% of them are doing something related to action sports or tricks or stunts. And we all love watching them. But do we ever realize that the missing dimensions are not even showcased as it relates to action sports? So that's fine. So we know that there is a huge enough market that we need to follow. We need to find a solution to that. But where do we start? There are so many such action sports. Where do we put a first beachhead? It turns out that 8 out of 10 channels on YouTube and other media that showcase action sports are dedicated to skateboarding. Aha, let's start at skateboarding then. So we invented or designed the puck. It's the most beautifully designed product. It's a combination of a sensor powerhouse and a software application that delivers a punch. 4 different sensors embedded inside the puck work in concert with the software and deliver your accurate representative motion 100 times a second. Could you swallow that? Now, why that is important is that when you improvise, it's important to understand how you change from time to time. How your tricks change over time. How does it compare with others? Those are what are more important than actually tracking or just showing you things on a map. The app also allows you to overlay the sensor data on top of videos, so it actually sets you apart. So the millions of videos out there, which are plain vanilla, now help you stand out with the help of sensor data embedded on top of the videos. That is what sticks with people. That is what helps people stay engaged with wearables, which is the #1 problem in the wearable segment. So how are we going to make money?Es, we've solved a problem. We found what the ideal situation is. But the beauty is that our business model is so simple. And what it is actually a virtual cycle of self-reinforcing customer acquisition. And it works like this. The puck is bought. The app is understood how to get used to. Engaging content is designed by people and showcased in social media. And that fosters awareness and further demand. How do we know this works? But because GoPro actually has done this. If you look at it, GoPro succeeded because people came up with engaging content. They didn't really have to sell the device. They sold the content that came with it through the people. If you look at it, if you just chart out the adoption of GoPro videos on YouTube and correlate it with the number of units sold, they almost match. So we believe that we can follow suit. But what's more important for us is to understand that just out of the 5,000 videos out there, channels out there on YouTube, GoPro is already #5. But that's great. But what that represents is only 2% of consumer brands. That's our opportunity to grow that pie. And we believe that we deserve to grow that pie. Imminent does. So do we make enough money? That's the biggest question, right, that everybody has in their mind. OK, fine, you solve a problem. There's a bigger market out there. But do we make enough money? With an average ASP of $139 and with a healthy gross margin, we are able to be a 16 million business in just year 1. And that's just with the 2% customer base of the 8 to 12 million serviceable market that we have. We are deeply encouraged with this opportunity, and with industrial partnerships that we have, we can actually accelerate that even faster. How do we do it? We have a force multiplier team. Our co-founder and CEO, Mark, used to lead connected devices for Nokia and led Nokia Games Publishing. Our ace designer, Jan, has, besides all of the awards that he's won, he understands what visceral design is, and that's what we want to adapt. Our marketing guru, Anu, she understands customer psyche, which is so important, customer empathy. And it's no surprise that all her products in Nokia have received the highest customer satisfaction in Nokia's history, period. And as of me, I have more than 15 years of experience in developing and managing mobile services, products, and technology. Most recently, I led wearables at Qualcomm, and prior to that, developed the sensor fusion algorithms for the Snapdragon product line. So did we do something finally, right? Here we are. We are actually actively prototyping our hardware and software solution with leading pro athletes in skateboarding today here in San Diego. And we have been blown away with the results that we have seen, and they have been blown away themselves. They cannot wait to take it and share it across their followers, which are in the thousands. But we don't want to stop right here. We are actually raising a seed round of 500,000, which is not going to last forever. So you want to get on it. So if you missed the boat on GoPro, this is your chance. Right? And if you didn't miss the boat on GoPro, you can double dip, right? So coming back to Chris, let's see what Chris's life was before Puck, right? Chris is executing a very complex trick, a rail-to-rail flip, a triple rail flip. And that's fine, it looks nice, but how do you even know what it is? With the Puck, his life is augmented, his video is automatically augmented, and most importantly, his trick is identified as a triple rail flip and imported into his profile. So now Chris can go back into his Imminent profile and see all his tricks. He doesn't have to go home and import all his data. It's already there on his phone, right? And then he can send it to his friends and followers, and they can comment back on it. It's a huge gamification exercise. And on top of that, Chris has also found a new interest now. Now he can virtually play against somebody sitting in Sydney who is also using a puck. So he also happens to be supposedly very good at the triple rail flip. So they are going head to head virtually, but with real data. How cool is that, right? So now think of this blowing out of proportion and millions of users competing against each other with real data. That is visceral content. That is what sticks. That is what enables people be more. And finally, all of these kids who are in their 20s or 30s, or even 45-year-olds who want to get back into skateboarding, this is your chance, right? And if you want to put your stuff on Portfolio, please do, but eventually you'll have to cut a check to Imminent because you need the data on that. The video doesn't tell you anything. And Chris is here, everybody. That's Chris Clark. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. We are so stoked by this opportunity. We want to do better, and we want to help you all be more. Summer of 2015 is going to be a watershed moment, we believe, in action sports, and we are going to be in the driver's seat. So please, please vote for us and support us. Thank you.
Hey, don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. See, good or white, this might surprise you, but he won the, hands down, the most passionate presenter at the screening session. So any questions for Nathan? And we should probably keep it again to the under 46 crowd? Or over 46, anyone? Yes.
Who owns the data that you're generating?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Who owns all the data you're generating, and how do you value the data? Are you thinking about this as part of the value of your company?
Eventually, yes. So hopefully we will get to critical mass soon enough that all of this curated data that people own, but they own it on our platform. But what's interesting is that that curated data can be expressed to multiple other parties that are interested in understanding where the talent is. So we don't really need to worry about privacy if that's where you're going. But the users love their data, they keep it on our platform, but they would love to showcase their talent to the scouts out there, to the agencies out there who want to know what the next cool trick is. So they'll be more than happy to let their data out.
Anybody else? All right. Oh, wait, one more question. Daniel from Hush.
I don't have any more money, Hush.
Okay. What data do you track? Do you have an accelerometer? What else do you have on it, or is it just an accelerometer?
So good question, right? So the way we actually generate the complex motion or virtualize it is by a 3-axis accelerometer, 3-axis gyroscope, 3-axis magnetometer, and a pressure sensor. And all 4 sensors put together with our proprietary sensor fusion algorithms can actually determine your motion to the level of accuracy that we need to understand what that trick was.
Final question.
Can this be used in other pro sports and other applications?
Absolutely, absolutely. So essentially, so the idea behind this is our vision is to enable a sensor-rich ecosystem. We are starting with action sports because it uses improvisation as a tool. But think about it. This is an inertial sensor. It can determine G-forces. So to give you an example, all those hockey moms or football moms or anybody else who is into contact sports would want something like this in their helmet, which can measure G-forces. There is regulation out there coming up next year which mandates sensor-based training for all league sports. So we'll be right front and center to intersect that market demand with our solution because we are already measuring all that information. So that's one market. There are other verticals like drone control because ultimately we are tracking with a lot of precision where your movements are. So you could actually control your drone with our sensor. So there are many, many other verticals, but we are starting with a known entity here.
Right, thank you very much.